Hello my friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. I've been working on my pond and it's kind of a multiple stage project. Stage one was installing a new drain location and raising the water level and building the dam up in places and tearing it down in other places. That video is already out, and I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. This video is going to deal with phase two, or stage two, I guess you'd say, and that is I needed to build a retaining wall. Just so you know, the next stage would be then building a building in front of that retaining wall, and then the final stage would be building a water wheel attached to that building. My friends, the goal for this morning is to measure this wall for a retaining wall and to find out how many block I'm going to need, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do, is measure the length of this and then measure about the height that I want to go up to. I didn't do anything on this wall yesterday. I just more or less sat in the house and tried to work on plans a little bit. I'm holding this in my hand, so I'm going to have to lay the camera down for a minute and measure this up, and then we'll tell you how big it is. Well, the way I'm measuring it, I'm starting just about at the pipe back there, and I'm going from there all the way out to here, and I'm measuring it at 45 feet long. It's more than 6 feet tall at the pipe area, but it narrows down a lot more here. So I'm averaging it, I'm just gonna say it's about 5 feet tall. So I'm gonna try to buy enough rock to do 45 by 5 feet. And that's a lot of rock, and they're heavy. If I have any left over, we'll put them down here. And I'm not gonna measure for that right now. I'm gonna wait on this, but I will put rock on this little ledge also eventually. So I'm not going to worry about that at the moment, though. I'm just going to try to concentrate on the one wall and see how that goes. My goal is to bring the rock wall up higher than the dirt, and then bring the road out to the rock wall more. You know, make this more level up there, because you can't really cut that the way it is. It's really steep, and she probably has to cut it with a weed eater or something. Well, actually, she could probably cut it with the tractor before I cut this ledge in there. But now with the rock wall and all that, it needs to be more flat. So we're going to work on all that, and that's my goal for today. Well, there's the first load of block. That's about, I'm going to say roughly 10,000 pounds of block, probably 9,000 pounds for sure. It's a 12,000 pound trailer, so I didn't see any point in pushing it any further since I had to make 2 trips anyway. And now I'm going to narrow the forks down here to be able to poke them through there. And let's see if we can make that happen here. There it is. Okay, so now the bugs are just flying in my face like crazy. All right, well, we're going to unload this. I'm not going to be able to film it because all I've got is my phone camera right now, but I'll show you what the trailer looks like empty here in just a minute. Well, there's what she looks like unloaded. There's 4 pallets, and man, they are heavy. The Bobcat handled it no problem, but it wouldn't take much more to overload the Bobcat. And there's the trailer unloaded. I've got to get ready to go get the next load. Here I am at Menards, and we've got the first of the 2 pallets loaded up there. We've got another pallet coming with just the caps. I've got 1 strap on it now. After we get the other pallet on there, I'll see how much more I need to strap down. And I got a little bit of netting coming, which is stuff that you use to tie it together to keep it from pulling away from the wall, from the dirt. This forklift driver I've got's really friendly, really nice, and he's very helpful. I've done quite a bit more work on the leveling of this pad, and I went and got 1 big bucket of gravel off, basically just scraped it off where it's run off of the county road. It had, you know, with the big rains, it washed a big pile of it out. So I just picked up a scoop of that and am tamping it in and getting it level in preparation for laying the block. You can see how I've tamped that area right there, and I think I'm going to use that as my level. I have been shooting this with a laser level and have a pretty rough idea. The horsefly and the other bugs are making it nearly impossible to work out here. The heat is bad enough, but the horseflies and the other bugs are driving me bonkers. So I don't know how much more I can stand. But I'm going to try to get a few blocks started at least, and I'll show you the progress as I make some. Well, I've made some good progress. I started with the laser level, got it, level so that I think I could carry it out the full length of the wall. I went and got some gravel, laid it in there, and then I'm pounding it as I go, laying the block level in every plane as I go. And you can see how far I've got. It's about 9:30 in the morning. I started at about 7, and I first had to do a lot more grading on the plot here. So I've really only been laying block for about 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes, something like that. So it's going pretty fast. That little pipe you see, there's a little bit of a seepage area through that part of the wall. So I've got a pipe there with some holes drilled in it to let that seepage run out. I'm not even too worried about it. Even if it didn't run out, it'd be fine. But I do have some fall in that pipe, and if the water builds up back there, it'll run on out to where the spring is there, and it'll be just fine. I'm not too worried about the rest of this. It's been bone dry the whole time, and it's a very narrow, shallow wall, so I'm just not too worried about it. If the water runs through it, that's just perfectly fine with me. I think it's going to be just fine. I built that other wall 120 feet long and put a drainage pipe in there, but unfortunately the drain got messed up, and so it still hasn't been a problem though. So anyway, it's all working just fine. It's a lot of work, very heavy blocks. They're about 70 pounds a piece, so it's a workout. Well, that's where I'm going to leave it for the first day. That's a little over an hour's worth of block laying. That's not too bad for an hour or so, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. I don't really know if I've had that much time in the actual laying of the block or not. It's working out real well. It's real flat, real level, and I think I'll put one more block on top of that, and then I'll anchor it with the mesh that they give you and some gravel. And of course, I'll do some backfill with gravel probably first thing in the morning and get that all backfilled. There's a little bit of space behind the block, not very much, but I'll fill all of that with gravel, and it'll be good and solid.
There's quite a bit of handwork when you're building a retaining wall. As you can see there, you have to get a good solid base, and I tamp it really firmly into the ground. The ground is solid anyway, as it's very hard ground to begin with, and therefore it's sitting on a pretty solid base. As you can see in real time, this is a very slow, arduous process. So let's just go ahead and speed it up a little bit.
Brother John is a poor, hard-working man. His life was hard, but he does the best he can. He prays to God just to thank him for his bread and a roof over his head. Brother John lost his wife.
That's about how far one pallet gets me. I have about 3 more pallets to go, maybe 3.5. So, the wall's got to be quite a bit higher. I'd say twice and maybe another block on top of that higher. So we'll use up most of the block for sure. And if we have anything left over, we'll put it over here on this other side.
When the fever came around, a gentle girl, oh, we laid her in the ground, she was his life. And her dying hit him hard, till he heard the voice of God, Brother John.
The work itself isn't too terribly bad, but the humidity, as you can see it just dripping off my face, is like, you know, 1000%. It's just unbelievable.
Trouble on earth is ending, all your sorrow soon will be gone. You were a good man, you did all you could.
It don't help that these guys keep flying on you, biting you, and they hurt. They really hurt.
In this sped up version, you can't see how often I'm swatting at horseflies. I am swatting at them just every couple of minutes. It was so aggravating.
They're calling you home now, Brother John.
I'm just getting flogged by these horseflies. They hurt. So anyway, I just had another one flying on my head as I was coming over to tell you about it. They're really bad.
Late one day, he was working in the field, the sun was low.
Well, I've laid quite a few more blocks since I turned the camera off. I also dug that end out a little bit more with the Bobcat because it was running uphill a little bit. And I'm working on it. I'm going to try to get the rest of this pallet spread right here, and then I think I'll go get another scoop of dry gravel and backfill all of this, fill up the holes and fill up behind the block and everything. That'll make it really sturdy. So that's the plan. Let's see if it works.
And the earth was cool and still, he heard his wife calling, come join me now. He fell beside his plow, Brother John. Your trouble on earth is ending, all your sorrow soon will be gone.
The horseflies are just getting brutal. I am not kidding you. In just that 5 or so minutes, I killed about 3 or 4 more, and they just keep attacking, especially when you bend over. They know you're vulnerable, and they go right on your back. Man, and they hurt. Oh.
You notice I'm wearing my Superman shirt. I thought maybe that would keep them from biting, but it didn't seem to work.
Good man, you did all you could, and they're calling you home now, Brother John.
Yet another one. Miserable. It's just miserable. Well, here's the progress I made today. Some pretty good progress. I've only got about maybe 6 or so more blocks lengthwise to go for the wall, maybe a little more. I got 3 rows high, and I have it all backfilled too, up to that point. As you can see, it's all filled with gravel. A couple of them are a little low, but they're mostly filled. I'll have to get a little more gravel and finish it up, but that's not bad considering how bad the horseflies were this morning. I killed at least, I would say close to 2 dozen horseflies, and got bit at least a dozen times. It's just amazing how bad the horseflies were this morning. But it's looking pretty good. That's quite a bit of work. That's 2 full pallets of block. It's just now 9 o'clock. I started at 6:30, so that's really a pretty good amount of work done in just a very short amount of time. And that includes driving the Bobcat a mile down the road to pick up a load of gravel, and then also taking it out into the creek and picking up another scoop of gravel, and then backfilling all this stuff. Anyway, it's looking pretty good. I think if I can get the last few blocks laid tomorrow morning, then probably I'll just keep laying block until I'm done tomorrow, because going up is no problem. That goes fast. That laying that first block and getting it all level and square is the hard part.
Trouble on earth is ending. All your sorrow soon will be gone. You were a good man, you did all you could, and they're calling you home now, Brother John.
As you can probably tell from all the sweating, it was really hot when I was laying this, and I only worked just a couple of hours each morning.
An old battered case, weathered and worn, with the hinges all rusted and the fabric all torn, but still cradled inside was one old precious thing. It was Grandpa's old fiddle, oh how sweetly it rings. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies. He played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. The most honest man that I ever have seen, and his time on this old earth was most precious to me. He lived on Current River at the mouth of Blue Springs, and at night the hills echoed as the old fiddle would ring.
Well, for at least right now, that's as far as I'm going. It may be that after I'm pretty much finished, I may decide to extend it a little further, but I'm going to stop right there for now. And now we're just going to lay more courses on top of what we have. We'll see how that goes.
Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies. He played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. But just a boy at the time, I remember a day when Grandpa and that old fiddle, some old tunes he did play. Well now Grandpa, he has left us for heaven above, but he left me that old fiddle, and now I play it with love. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melodies. He played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love. love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. The old fiddle is ringing up in heaven above. It's in the wind, it's in the wind, that you're leaving me again. There's no disguise, it's in your eyes, you can't fool me this time. Before you up and leave me, there's something you should know. Just sit right down beside me, just once before you go. Remember when we first met, we had a love so fine. We vowed we love each other until the end of time. It's in the wind, it's in the wind that you...
I'm going to finish laying block over just a few more because I've got a few more backfilled, and then I'm going to concentrate on backfilling everything again before I get too high. So I'm just going to go over a few more blocks and then we're going to stop for a little bit.
Leaving me again, there's no disguise, it's in your eyes, you can't fool me this time. I know you found another who wants your love so fine, but darling, please don't leave me, just take a little time. You know I love you, darling, and I know you love me, so won't you please consider our life and hopes and dreams. It's in the wind, it's in the wind that you're leaving me again. There's no disguise, it's in your eyes, you can't fool me this time. It's in the wind, it's in the wind, it's in the wind, it's in the wind, it's in the wind.
Wouldn't you know, just as, I've already got it covered up, so there's no way I can get to it very easy. There's something heavy metal in the wall that I'm trying to pull out. I'll show you whatever it is when I get it out. It does look kind of unusual.
Have you clicked that thumbs up button yet? Please do. I would really appreciate it.
It's obviously some sort of a lever for something. And it multiplies force apparently because there's 5 times here. I've seen this kind of thing before. I think it's off of, it's got adjustments. It's off of some old farm machinery, I think. I can't remember exactly. I've seen it before. I'll have to clean it up and try to figure it out. It's pretty interesting though. Amazing, found that right in the wall there. There's no telling what else is buried behind there.
Win again, you win again, it's in the wind.
Okay, that's as far as I'm gonna go right now. I'm gonna go get backfill and backfill all the stuff I just laid, plus those end blocks down there. So that's what we're gonna do next.
No more corporate strife, put your alarm clock away in the drawer. No.
I'm very fortunate to have that skid steer bobcat, because that sure does help with all the different work that I have to do, the heavy labor. It also allows me to scrape up the gravel that washes off the county road, and able to get gravel out of the creek banks and things, and that saves a whole lot of money on a project like this.
No more conference calls and no meetings in the halls, and no business to conduct in a bar, and no self-serving boss, nor the threat of the loss of the paycheck that I've earned 8 to 5. 'Cause I'll be out on that ranch where I can reach the first branch of that corporate tree grown from on high. I don't own it, I just manage its worth. It's a small slice of heaven placed down here on earth. Care for his trees, water his sun. I don't own it, I just rent it from God. Won't miss me when I tell them I'm history. That's okay, for I've got a plan, and there'll be no regret, no hard feelings, no debt. We're all doing the best we can. So here is my last word. Some may think it absurd, but I know that someday you'll find it's better to leave than to stay and to grieve. Instead of a paycheck, you'll have peace of mind. I don't want it, just manage its worth. It's a small slice of heaven placed down here on earth. I care for his trees, I water his sun. I don't own it, just rent it from God. Its worth. It's a small slice of heaven placed down here on earth.
You probably can't tell right here, but I'm shoveling this back into the bucket of the bobcat to save all that gravel and reuse it in another spot in the wall.
His trees, I water his sun. I don't own it, I just rent it from God. Scrape a living from the soul, like my father before me. I labor and toil, but my father said, son, you should move said, farm life is dying.
Typically, it's not that much work to backfill that, but the bucket dumped more than I was expecting. It kind of came out in a big clump rather than sprinkled out like it usually does. So that's why it was so much more work. All right, you can see I'm up so many courses with the block, and this is the first opportunity I feel like I've had to lay this netting in here. And what I'm going to do is lay another course of block on top of this netting, and then the netting goes up there in the grass, and then after I get another course of block on here, I'm going to backfill with river gravel, and that should work. And then we'll coat everything over with regular dirt later.
Son, please don't stay. I moved to the city and I tried to fit in. I thought of my father and how the crops would get in. I could hear him say, son, you should move away. He said, farm life is dying. Son, please don't stay. For a visit, but I was too late. My father lay dying, I knew it was fate, but he turned and said, son, you should move away. I just couldn't leave him, and he knew I would stay. Now I'm an old dirt farmer, I scrape a living from the soul. Like my father before me, I labor and toil. Seen a dogwood tree growing wild in the woods? The story goes that little tree once was so large, but no more you see. That little dogwood tree so small once made a cross for one and all, and it had thorns that made a crown for our king so heaven bound. the symbol of his life and his kingdom way up high. That little dogwood tree so small once made a cross for one and all, and it had thorns that made a crown for a king so heaven bound. That little dogwood tree so small. Once made a cross for one and all, and it had crowns that made a crown for our king so heaven bound.
If you watch down the road, you'll see the road grader coming. The road grader is from the county. They maintain the county road, and the county road dead ends on my property. So they come through my gate and turn around in my property and go back out and maintain the road. I'm very glad that they do such a good job.
Well, here's the status of the wall as of today. This is Friday, and you can see it's a pretty tall wall now. It's up past my shoulders, so it's a hair over 5 feet tall, and I've got it backfilled with gravel. My idea is to bring it up another block and then go out with level with dirt to the road. That way she'll have an easy time cutting the grass here. Right there, this mesh is under this layer of block right here. So there's 2 layers of block sitting on that mesh right now, and then it's backfilled with that gravel. And when the gravel goes down between the block and intermingles with that mesh, then that locks it in really tight. Really does a good job. I'm gonna call that good enough for today. The bugs and the temperatures are just killing me. I don't mind admitting that when I got that last block laid right there, I was out of breath. I'm seriously telling you, it was a lot of work. Well, it's Saturday morning, and after another couple of hours work, the wall is, for all intent and purposes, finished. I've got the capstone, as you can see, It's a tall wall. It's about 6 foot high. Not quite 6 foot high. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's almost as high as my head. Let's see here. Does that picture work? Pretty tall. Anyway, it turned out pretty nice. If I'd have had about 3 more block, I'd have been fine. And guess what? There were 3 broken blocks in the pallets. See how I broke those 2 blocks there? And I needed to break at least 1 more up here and then stack up a little bit straighter. But honestly, I can live with it the way it is. I don't think that's a big issue. So I'm probably going to take a break for a day or 2 and rest up, because that was a killer. I started it on Wednesday and finished it on Saturday, all by my lonesome. If you notice that pile of dirt up above, let me show you what happened up there. There was a big old stump right here on the edge of the road. It was just off the road, but you know, a lot of times when you cut the corner sharp, your tire would run over that stump if you're pulling a big trailer or something, you know. And so here's what that looks like. It's a big old walnut stump. I doubt I'll save it, because I've got those other 3 that I haven't even cut up yet, and they're much bigger. So I doubt I'll save that one. Boy, the bugs are just literally eating me alive right now. I can barely even talk because they're just going in my mouth and in my nose, eyes, everything. So I guess I'm just going to call that good enough to show you, because I can't stand the bugs. My friends, it's 6:30 a.m. Monday morning, and I guess you could say phase 2 of the pond project has been completed. That's what the wall looks like from a distance. I spread more topsoil on the dam also. I got the topsoil from my son's farm, and it was wet, and so it doesn't spread, and you can't drag it out. It's so stuck together that it just slides. So I've spread it out the best I can. I'm gonna let it dry, and we'll hit it with the bobcat later to try to spread it out, and then maybe sow some grass. We might as well, since we're over here, take a look and see what the pipes are doing, or what the pipe is doing today. See if water's still going in and coming out. Yep, it appears to be going in for sure. And let's see if how much is coming out here. It's a pretty good stream. We still got about a garden hose worth of water coming out. So it's not bad. That's enough to turn a water wheel, I think. So let's go over and take a closer look at the wall. Okay, so this is what the wall looks like as you're approaching it. I may have to extend the wall out on this end a bit more and taper it back to match that hillside. It's a little steep right there. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet, but it's fixable. I just don't know what I want to do yet. And these ends are open also. I do have some more capstone that I could cut and try to block them off. But you can see I have the capstone there. You can also see that I've backfilled it with that same wet topsoil. And it's not doing real well in terms of leveling out right now because it's just so damp. We did get some rain over the weekend, as I mentioned. On this end, I cut 2 stones there and started bringing it up straighter. I was hoping to bring it up straight, but I don't know. In hindsight, that's probably just as good the way it is. Again, though, filling in behind this wall here is kind of a problem, and I may have to get some large rock and just set a platform in there and put some large big stones on there to contain the dirt. Something. I'll just have to come up with something, and I don't know what that something is yet. We can see from here how the water is coming out of the spring. And another look at the pond. Very peaceful, quiet out here this morning with the exception of that loud cricket and the crows in the distance.